everybody, and welcome to today's episode of Trade the Chain. It is February 9th, and it is Tuesday, and we're happy to be here. We're happy you could all join us. I'm here with Ryan Gorman, our crypto analyst, CJ, and Monty from MarketRebellion.com. And before we came on the air, we were actually talking about Bobby Axelrod's hoodie from the TV show Billions. And I thought I'd just carry that discussion into the beginning real quick because CJ had commented on how Ryan kind of looks like Bobby Axelrod today. And so we looked up his garb, and it turns out Bobby Axelrod wears it. How much is the hoodie, Ryan, that he wears?
$2,300.
$2,300. But when you're a billionaire on TV, that's what you can do. So just thought I'd bring a little bit of our prep conversation to you guys. We are here today talking about the big boards. We got BTC and ETH, and it seems like a battle to the all-time highs. Both are touching them, popping off them. It's been incredible. ETH just going above 1,800 for a little bit. So it's bringing a lot of excitement to the markets. But before we dive into that, I'm going to let Ryan take it away with our opener.
Thanks, Alex. This is just a reminder that all content provided by Trade the Chain is for informational and educational purposes only. Absolutely none of this is investment advice. Please don't take it that way. Trade the Chain is brought to you by Trade the Chain, a 24/7 global community of traders in 23 time zones now, all ages, all abilities, all experience levels. All of them taking advantage of AI-driven sentiment and indicators and actionable alerts to help them beat the market and trade like a crypto insider. TradeTheChain.com for a 14-day trial.
And then MarketRebellion.com/crypto. Get exclusive access to trade ideas from Monty and myself and our other analysts at Market Rebellion, a pro charting platform, which I'll show you guys in just a minute, our macro portfolio cryptocurrency allocations, a trading education curriculum, and an elite community of traders all throughout the world, and much more. If you're serious about trading crypto, this is the service that gives you everything you need all in one place. So start your first month trial for just $1 at marketrebellion.com/crypto. Our community is growing. Same with Trade the Chain, and we appreciate that, guys. And if you haven't subscribed to the channel, please do that. That helps us a lot, and hit the like button. But on to Bitcoin here. We are on the 4-hour. We hit a 9 candle, which sometimes reverses. But in this case, this is a particular 9 that is not prone to reversals like the typical one. And that's because the 7 is the peak of the trend. When like the 7 or say the 6 are the peak of the trend, then you're likely going to have one more leg up. And I think we're going to go one more leg up to 50K because we're broken past that critical resistance of the Fibonacci level at 45K. And there's really nothing there until 62K. So we could run quite a bit, but we are on a 9 here. But it's not the type of 9 which is indicative of an immediate reversal. I still think we have another 4 hours or 8 hours up in the meantime. But looking on this, I want to look at it from a longer term time frame, from the weekly chart, which we always check out before I pass things to Monty here. But we are back in blue sky territory, above this critical resistance level, above the top Bollinger Band. So there's nothing here that tells me to sell or be bearish. This is all just a bullish train right now. I would not want to be short, especially with those stocks related to blockchain. If you look up here on the right side of my watch list, you can see Riot is up, just a casual 25% today for a stock that's just impeccable. So we're seeing bullish momentum all throughout the space. And I don't see that slowing right now based on the technical fundamentals. It seems right now that 29K or 30K was sufficient support for our last correction. And, we're back in the same territory we were back here, going up, in the mid 20,000s. So I certainly think that we can continue to go all the way up to 60K in the next week or two, because even if you look at it, it's not that much of a percentage increase based on what we did back here. So just interesting food for thought. But there's nothing from a technical perspective right now, other than that 9 on the 4 hour, which I would be watching and a little bit concerned about. But I'm long, and I will leave it at that.
Thanks, CJ. It's pretty cool to see how quickly our kind of perspectives changed from being bearish to bullish, and it really came down to factors outside of the technicals here. So, I mean, if you look at this chart right here, the daily chart, you can see we're kind of incredibly overbought on the RSI, giving us a reading of 76. And there really doesn't look like there's much support back down to 38.3. I was talking about that a little bit yesterday, about how just last week we were kind of looking at this level right here from this setup 9, right around 30K, as the price floor. But now we have an entirely new kind of outlook on the market, and we have this as what is looking like it can serve as a pretty solid price floor. But like CJ pointed out, if we kind of look closer at some of the smaller time frames, you'll see that there actually is some support on the way down here. So looking closely at the 1 hour, we are on a green sell 13. So that is a bit of a bearish signal. We're also still overbought on the RSI at this level. But as you can see, we also have this new support level here from this setup 9. And I think this could really serve as a solid price floor, because you got the psychological level of around 45K. And it doesn't really, like CJ said, there's really no reason other than the 9 on the 4 hour chart to expect that a reversal is imminent right now. So I would love to see a candle close above this right here, this setup support / resistance line, because then we have 2 support levels on the way down. We would have this level right here at 46.916, and also this one right here between 44 and 45K. So that would be a very bullish move if we can kind of get above here and consolidate. It would just be more support and more reason to feel comfortable entering a long trade.
No, historically with Bitcoin, when it's shot up this quickly and by this much of a percentage, it's been followed by a rather steep sell-off. You don't think that there's a high likelihood of that happening again?
Well, we thought there was going to be a sell-off at 20K, 19K, but the trend continued. And, just for me, from a trading perspective, there's no reason to believe we will correct until we go below that bottom band and actually show some bearish confirmation. There's no confirmation of any type of bearish breakout right now. And I want to make this point earlier that Monty mentioned about changing your mind. Like, as soon as this show ends, we could change our minds about the current outlook of Bitcoin, because data changes so fast, and we have to be, flexible with our views based on new data that we get every single day. So there's nothing showing me right now to change my mind. We just had a short squeeze. That was really the predominant reason why we went so high so quickly. Musk has a nice history of squeezing shorts, so this was just another instance of that. But what do you guys think? What do you think, Monty?
Yeah, I think Ryan's got a good point. When we have seen moves like this historically, they've been typically followed with somewhat of a correction, and I think we can kind of compare this run up, although it happened for greatly different reasons. I think we can kind of look to what we've seen just in the last few weeks as kind of an estimate to what we could possibly see going forward here. So if you look at where we topped out during this parabolic run up, we topped out at about 42K. And this was the period of kind of bearish to neutral price action, where we were kind of teasing with this 30K level. So that was an interim correction of about 28%. And not so much a correction, just a bit of a bearish market. And now that we've moved up here to 47K, we're looking, or 48K, we're looking at, like I said, this level is a price floor. That's about a 19-20% correction. So I think if we were to start correcting and consolidating, you could kind of expect the buy pressure to start picking up anywhere below this level, kind of like we saw it happen right here. So anytime it whipped down below this, we saw the buy pressure, pick it immediately back up. I expect a similar thing to happen here, but that's even if we get to this level. I think CJ made a great point that there's really not too much right now implying, other than the overbought metrics that we've overcome in the past. There's not too much implying that a reversal is imminent, other than the fact that we ran up this quickly. But if the retail interest stays and people continue speculating, we may not even see this comparable price action following this run up. So we're just gonna have to wait and see.
I'm just excited that Mr. Short isn't short, and I think, you know, from the comments in the other episode, a lot of other people were too. They're like, "Whoa, Mr. Short's not short." So that should really be your folks' affirmation that there's, you know, we're in a bullish cycle. It's interesting to point out, CJ, yesterday you had mentioned, listen, if we break above 45, we got blue sky heading on upwards, and that's exactly what did transpire. What do you think our short-term play is here? Do you think we will hit 62 mark in the February month, or do you think it's going to be closer to around the 50,000 mark if we keep going up?
Yeah, we could definitely do it in 2 weeks. From a percentage basis, it wouldn't be that much of a climb, say that like 20K to 30K was. That was much more of a climb than, you know, 40 to 60K. Actually, it would be the exact same.
Same, yeah.
Well, that brings me, but I mean, that brings me to another thing real quick before I forget, is the point of, you know, you look at Mara, MSTR, and Riot, and you look at those percentage gains that those stocks are taking, you know, comparable to the little bull run that we're having right now. Are the stocks moving up higher percentage-wise than Bitcoin is at the moment?
Obviously, it depends on the stock, but yes, from the vast majority, and from like the options, right? The options are just off the charts. Like if a stock goes up 20%, let's say like Riot is, like an at the money option that let's say you bought the previous day, probably going to be at least 100% up on the day. So that's where the real opportunity is, in my view. But if you want to just buy the outright stock, you know, based on previous historic performance, MicroStrategy, Riot, Mana, all of them have, I think Mana has done like, or no, it was Hive. Hive did a 9x since September. So if you just look at the metrics, you'll see they've really outperformed Bitcoin. So there's a way to take advantage of this entire wave, and there's multiple vehicles to do it, which is pretty cool.
When looking at what drove Bitcoin up this time, because over the past week, sentiment wasn't all that bullish. It was kind of neutral. And when you're looking at Bitcoin kind of being news cycle dependent, it's almost it seems like it needs an artificial stimulus to go up, right? And once the effect of that stimulus wears off, I'm concerned that Bitcoin won't stay up where it is. Sure, it might consolidate at 45K, but that doesn't mean it's going to fire up to 62K. It's going to need another announcement from another company, I think, in order to reach that level. That type of event would absolutely propel Bitcoin higher. But I don't know. Outside of another company announcing that they've allocated to their treasury, maybe an Apple, like we discussed yesterday.
I don't know. Brian, I think that's like too obvious. You know, I was looking at some people's opinions, and I started to kind of get it. Like, you know, Apple, everybody's throwing Apple out there. I think maybe Apple's too obvious. I think maybe there's going to be another company that comes into play prior to them.
Microsoft and Amazon have blockchain nodes running on their servers. So that's not entirely impossible. Like, I know people running blockchain nodes on Azure and AWS. So,
sure.
I mean, that they have to have some level of knowledge and expertise. They have blockchain teams there. That doesn't seem entirely implausible. They have plenty of cash sitting around.
Yeah, no, agreed. We'll see who the next one is. I'm just hoping a lot more of those middle market companies start coming in and doing it, because then it becomes really meaningful when they have, you know, you have a smaller company that's believing in it. I think a wave of that will be a huge rush for Bitcoin too. It's really easy for Apple to buy Bitcoin, right? Or for Tesla to buy Bitcoin. you start getting a $300-400 million company that puts it, starts buying a 10-20 block thing of Bitcoin, then it's like, whoa, this thing's real.
Walmart uses blockchain for supply chain logistics. I mean, that's another one that has lots of cash.
That could be a contender. I mean, how about this? How about we, the four of us, we'll each do a pick on who we think the next high-profile company to buy Bitcoin for treasury is. Brian, you first.
Microsoft.
CJ.
I'm typing it in the chat.
I like Walmart.
You know something? That was a good one. We're not going to be able to let anybody know what CJ's pick was, but
unless it's right. If
it
it's
is
correct,
not.
then we'll say it publicly.
100%. It's not completely out of the realm what CJ just put. And now that he typed it, I'm actually thinking, I think he may be right, man.
I could see some utility there. I could see some definite utility.
There's some use case.
I could see some utility. All right, moving on to ETH.
Wait, Alex,
what?
Who do you think will buy Bitcoin? Because we have mine at Microsoft. We have Monty at Walmart. What's your pick?
Honestly, I wasn't even thinking of it until I saw CJ's answer, and therefore I can't give one because I think I agree with CJ. To be honest with you, I think it'll be a publicity stunt nonetheless, but I think it will be the next one.
Or the competition. Something in that family of companies.
Something in that line of business. But I think that's going to be it, man. Truthfully, we'll see who it is. Moving on to ETH. ETH has had a power run. A lot of people excited about ETH. It's carried a few with it. You got ADA that's been just seems to be on jet propulsion as well. But Ethereum lovers everywhere rejoicing. It seems like every other day it's a new high. They feel like it's still undervalued, like it should be $2,500. Let's go to the charts, see what it's all about.
Similar to Bitcoin, kind of in the sense that we have a 9 on the 4-hour, but then again, it's not a 9 that occurred at the peak of the trend. We had an 8 that wicked pretty violently up above 1,800. I'm looking at this level at 1,750 as a breakout level. This is ultimately the equivalent of 45K for Bitcoin. But, I believe ETH needs to hold these levels. If not, we'll likely have a consolidation. And I believe we will create a higher low at around 1667. But ETH is still bullish. If we look on the weekly chart, it's probably still above that top band. So a 9 on the weekly, it's giving you a warning, but the bulls are relentless, and it's in the same state as Bitcoin, in my opinion. Monty, you want to share?
Yeah, no, I largely agree with you. And I just want to kind of touch on one of the points you made there about setting a higher low. I think that is going to be quite possibly the most important thing for ETH. So I'm looking at to the upside here. I'm looking because like CJ said, we're on this green 9. 3 consecutive doji candles. It's looking like we're due for some volatility. So to the upside, we have the possible 2K range. I don't see us having significant momentum from this trend, seeing that it's largely exhausted with these doji candles. So the most likely scenario here for me is that the momentum from this trend kind of peters out and we start moving down into this channel right here, this red zone. And I really agree with what CJ said that it's going to be critical to set a higher low. So if we can just maybe wick off this point or even bounce even up before we get to this level, that would be very bullish for the bullish case for Ethereum. So I'm looking for maybe a reversal somewhere in this range above 16K at the very lowest around here. And I think if it bounces off this level and continues trending higher, that next bounce may have significant momentum to push us past 2,000. So kind of a crossroads here for ETH, but still looking good in the long term.
So we have Bitcoin maximalists, and the more I look at DeFi and the more I see total value locked is now up to 37.5 billion. I think I'm becoming more of an ETH maximalist. I see the fundamentals behind ETH. It's not reliant on a specific event or a filing or someone tweeting about it. It just keeps largely going up because the projects that kind of underpin the whole ecosystem, or that it underpins their ecosystem, however you want to look at it, they're constantly growing and expanding and bringing in new utility, new use cases. Government officials, bankers, people are starting to really get behind this. I heard the CEO of one of the largest exchanges in the world today in a call talking about how he thinks DeFi is the future and how that's going to fundamentally change how people bank within the next 5 years.
100%, Ryan.
And, I just feel like long term, ETH has more value than Bitcoin, and it will eventually surpass it. I think I'm probably wrong because every time I buy anything, it goes down. But I think in the long run, I think even though I'm wearing this awesome Bitcoin shirt my wife got me, I think long term, I think ETH has more value than Bitcoin, and if you're a retail investor, I don't see the point in buying Bitcoin necessarily because you're not going to get the upside that you could potentially get with ETH. And
I will agree with you to a certain extent. I don't necessarily think, I don't want to say that ETH has more value than Bitcoin, because I do think Bitcoin as a store of value is going to be around forever and it's going to be tremendously popular.
Usage value. I think you can, yeah.
And what you said earlier, though, like how it seems like this year, Bitcoin, the only real catalyst for growth has kind of been these news related incidents, right? It's nothing due to any innovation happening on the blockchain itself. Whereas the growth of ETH, like that's coming from these projects that exist on the ERC20 blockchain becoming very popular and proving that they have true utility. So I just think there's so many more catalysts for a potential price pop with ETH. And it's just much less reliant on just the adoption from large institutions and companies like Tesla. So yeah, I agree that there is a lot of good reasons, many of them being the projects that exist on ETH, to be bullish that going forward.
Yeah. There's not a lot of news cycles for Ethereum at all. So I think you're right on that. And Ryan, I mean, we're at $1 billion a day right now in a lockup rate. So it's getting crazy.
And to Ryan's point, I listened to all the Bitcoin maximalists. I largely was of that viewpoint during the course of the bear market because altcoins were just bleeding out. And some of the highest level of engineers for Bitcoin were pointing out numerous scalability flaws in Ethereum, as well as like the lack of formal verification. But ever since then, we have things like Loopring, we have Oracle networks. We are gradually, I shouldn't say we, but the industry collectively is improving the scalability of Ethereum at a rate in which I'm pretty impressed by. So when you take a technology that has potential to develop in the future, like I would never try to prove a negative and say, oh, this will never work. This is broken. Like things can be developed and changed very gradually in the cryptocurrency market. And I think that's what we're seeing with projects, not only Ethereum, but projects on Ethereum. And the primary difference is just, you can't feasibly build on Bitcoin. It's too difficult. The programming language script is just, it doesn't allow for the flexibility to do the types of things that Ethereum can do. They play different roles. It's tough.
Absolutely, they're different roles. Ethereum has so much more utility and use case, and it's just so much more flexible. And I think, Bitcoin will always have its place. It will have that store of value. But I think, and again, maybe I'm wrong, but I think it's going to go more the way of gold and more the way of like fixed income investing, I think, than Ethereum will. And I think Ethereum will kind of start to take that role that people thought Bitcoin would have as a transactional currency. And that's why I see more opportunity there and more potential upside. And ETH Maxi, it may.
Let us know in the comments if you're a BTC, ETH, or VGX
maximalist.
There it is.
No, I think both of those are right, Ryan. First of all, you already have projects like UMA, which are creating derivative financial products on Ethereum. So it does have a lot of flexibility to it. I also think Ethereum did not do itself justice by the huge year-long delay of Ethereum 2.0, and I think that really kind of lagged it back as far as when we were going through the bear market and stuff like that, just from altcoin reputational point of view bleeding out. So it's interesting to see. I think there's a lot of really cool projects in the pipeline for Ethereum. based tokens. So that being said, we are going to sign off for now. We're going to see you again tomorrow, and that's what Ryan will bring us some news tomorrow on the Wednesday episode to run through. There's lots of exciting news. It seems to be happening every day. So with that being said, hang on to your handlebars. I'm not going to mention honey holes, and we will see you guys tomorrow.
Bye, everyone.